In this soul-soaked episode of Hex and Harmony, we're turning toward the element that carries our tears, our tides, and our truth: water.
Welcome to episode 15 of Hex and Harmony. And last week, for a little recap, we talked about Earth and everything to do with the Earth element, which was super fun. But for me, tonight's going to be the super fun discussion because we're talking about water, and water is my element. I feel like I am a water baby. I know I mentioned in our last episode that my astrological sign is the Earth, or is an Earth sign, and I didn't mention this, but my rising sign and my moon sign are both air signs. So I don't have in my big three a water sign, but I am very in tune with the water element because that is where I feel most at home. You definitely won't find me putting my hands in the dirt, as I mentioned last time, but you will see me putting my whole daggone body in some water because I love the water. So, water is a very emotional element. It represents our emotions, it represents our intuition, um, all that emotional energy that comes up. If you think of things like how you're feeling and how you're going about your day and things, and how things impact the way you're feeling, that's all related to the water element. And it can be all soft and watery, or it can be all intense like storm water too. So I mean, it's not just all soft and flowy and whatever. Water can come in with some serious intense power behind it. But that's one of the things I love about it, because it's not the same. It changes constantly. um yeah, and I just feel like I'm always changing in every way, because one, who isn't? But I feel like I've had a lot of change in my life, and I adapt to it pretty well, although I don't always want to. But I try to go with the flow when things change, and I try not to resist it. Um, because I know that just, if I just let it flow like water, it generally goes a whole lot better. So before I ramble on and on and on throughout this whole episode about water, I want to let you guys talk about water some too, because I don't want to monopolize this. So, what are the defining qualities of water as you see them? Whoever wants to start.
Okay, I guess I will start. My feelings on water. Like you said, it is most closely related to emotion and also things like memory and intuition, feelings. Intuition is I have a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
That is totally from water. It holds the past, it flows through the present, and it shapes our future. It is also tempering. You can use water to temper other energies. Like if you have too much fire, if you're very, very angry or more passionate than you want to be in some situation, you can use water to temper that fire and just tamp it down a little bit. It emulsifies things. It helps blend two opposite things together. If you mix them in water, they will emulsify and blend into one whole new element, whatever it is that you're working on. Like two separate energies, you add the water and they emulsify and become a third whole new energy that's more than the sum of its parts, if you know what it is, understand what I'm trying to say.
Definitely.
It's also a great conductor. It helps move things along. When I say conductor, I mean like it's a conduit for energy, to move energy from one place to another place, or emotions or memories or whatever. And it also, even though a lot of people don't think of it this way, it is also a mode to transformation. Because when you think about the great Grand Canyon, that was rock that was carved by water. So water can transform even the earth whenever it's strong enough. And those are my top level feelings about water.
Okay. I agree with everything that you both said. Water is also one of the elements, energies that exudes a lot of the feminine. When I think of water, I think of also an aspect of creation, in that it helps bring things to life, because you need water for your plants to grow out of the earth. It's creative in that sense. One of my favorite quotes is by Bruce Lee, where he says, be like water. So, you have to be able to flow. It brings to mind flexibility and movement and, like Tegan said, memory. It's able to hold things, and it also has the capacity to, again, in line with the flexibility, it can take on the shape of whatever it is in, or it can be molded. Mm-hmm. And it is one of the elements that can be a liquid, it can be a solid, or it can be a gas. So it's able to change, like a shapeshifter element, I'd say.
Nice.
I think that's another reason why I resonate with water, because it can shift shapes like that and take on different qualities, but it's still, its basic essence is the same, and it'll always come back to being the liquid form if the right conditions are met. It can harden, it can evaporate, but if the temperature changes, then it's going to go right back to being liquid. Mm-hmm. So it changes given the circumstance, but it doesn't change to where it's not the same thing that it's always been.
Agreed. Very profound.
And I like, Bailey, how you mentioned that water holds memory, because it does. And that's very important. The things that we say come back to us because of the water element. The things that we do come back to us because of the water element, because they're held there and it flows back to us. And it may not be in the same format, but it comes back to us because it's there being held in water. And I know that makes me think of the scientific studies also, where people speak beautiful words into water, and the crystals within the water are beautiful if you look at them on a molecular level. But if you speak harmful, hateful words to a glass of water, and then you look at it under a microscope to the molecular level, it's scattered and chaotic, and I won't say ugly, but in a sense, it could be considered that, because it's so scattered and out there, because it doesn't have the love there, and it can hold that. It senses that energy, and it holds
Right.
on to it.
Mm-hmm.
But at the
Yeah,
same
that.
time, if you have spoken like that around water and it's holding that energy, you can change that, and it'll change the molecular formation of the water molecule. It'll
Right.
change if you then start talking and reiterate beautiful, loving words. Then that crystal within the water molecule changes and looks different than it did with the hateful words coming at it.
Right.
Yeah, that was Dr. Masaru Emoto.
That's
Yes.
his name. I couldn't think of it.
He's a Japanese researcher. I was always fascinated with that study that he did, because it was I mean, it was eye-opening, and it was beautiful that these crystals or whatever in water, it whenever they were exposed to the positive words and the positive emotions, it would form symmetrical crystals.
Mm-hmm.
And when it was exposed to negative or harsh words, the crystals were distorted and chaotic and not symmetrical. And like you said, ugly when you when you compare it to the beautiful symmetry. And I just it was really very eye-opening.
Yeah. It is amazing how these things get down to the basic level like that. I mean, we know we shouldn't speak harmful words. We shouldn't be hateful. We shouldn't be negative to ourselves or others. But in our human nature, we go that way. But then we see something like how this energy affects even a water molecule. And then our bodies are made up of 70% water. So if
Mm-hmm.
if water takes on that energy in such a way, then it can't help but affect us in our bodies, in
Mm-hmm.
our minds, because we are water.
Yeah, it makes me think of all the people I see on TV that are just spewing all this hatred and encouraging all this violence, and it just, I'm like, what are they like on the inside? What are they doing to their bodies just by carrying around that kind of emotion constantly?
Which actually brings me to another question I wanted to explore. How does it show up in our bodies when we're out, or not necessarily in our bodies, but in our bodies or otherwise, when we're out of balance with water energy? And we get rigid, we get hard, we get,
Mm-hmm.
I, I don't know another good word other than hard, but I mean, I'll think of one later when we're done with this, I'm sure. I'll be like, oh, this word would have been even better. But you get where I'm going with this.
Yeah, you become brittle.
Brittle's
And
a good one.
I mean, when we're out of balance with water, it can be one of two. There are two extremes. We either drown in our own feelings, or we completely cut ourselves off from our feelings completely.
Yeah, we dry
And
up. We have no
yeah,
soul almost.
exactly.
It evaporates.
Yep. Inflexible, I should
Yes.
say.
That's a good one. So,
Um,
did you want to say something, Bailey?
no, no, you can go ahead.
Okay, I wanted to make sure I wasn't interrupting you or missing anything you wanted to say, because I always love your insights. Um, how can we work with water to soften resistance and encourage flow in our lives? I would love your insights on that, both of you.
I would say being mindful and, along with what you were just saying about being, how is it that people are so, let's say, negative right now, if they understand in the least bit the influence that um, words have on you. Like, we talked about water having memory. So if you're saying these things, and that nursery rhyme that we all grew up with, um, what's it? Sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. That's not true. They
No,
do
words
hurt you.
definitely
Yeah.
hurt.
They do hurt
Yeah.
you. And um, we have to be mindful of these things that we're saying. So I think that in working with water, we need to develop a level of consciousness and understanding, knowing that um, we hold on to these things, because if water holds memory and somebody is saying something negative to you, it's going to hold that. But the opposite is just as true and valid. When you say the positive things, when you bring the joyful things, the beautiful things, the water in your body holds on to those things because it gets held inside the fluids in your body, which nourish the cells in your body, which nourish the atoms in your body. So it goes all the way down to your DNA as far as being able to hold that memory of the things that we are saying. So in working with water, we need to have a level of consciousness to make sure that we are using the adequate shapes and forms so that the memory that we are creating is in harmony.
Very beautiful.
Okay.
Um, for me, water teaches us to stop fighting the current. So when you talk about softening resistance and encouraging flow in our lives, if you're talking about softening your own resistance, when you're feeling stuck or tense, working with water, whether it's through taking a ritual bath, crying it out, letting your own tears flow and cry it out, or even just sitting by a river can help us release control and let things move. It softens the inner resistance and reminds us that flow doesn't mean weakness, it means trust.
Mm-hmm.
And that sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is surrender if it's for
Right.
the right thing and the right cause.
Right.
And a little quick tip I have, one of my favorite ways is to speak an intention into just a glass of clear water and then drink the water. It's very
Yeah.
Right.
simple, but it's a powerful thing, letting that intention literally flow through you with the water. And that often makes me feel better.
Mm-hmm.
Just sitting by a body of water softens me. I can be having a really bad day or whatever, and if I can get near a body of water, it doesn't matter how big or small it is. If I sit there long enough, I'm going to start softening just by being next to the water. Definitely drinking it, putting my intentions in the water, and then drinking it and bringing it into my body to nourish the water that's already there and commingle with the water that's already in me and soften it that way. As you mentioned, Tegan, that's another one. If I can get in water, uh, whether it's a shower, a bath, swimming, whatever, just having the intention to soften or whatever intention I want as I'm in the water and just focusing on that intention and letting it wash over me as the water envelops me. That works wonders for me. Yeah. But anytime I can be in or near water or bring water into my body in some way, whether drinking it or whatever, that does a lot, works wonders for me and other people that I know. So it's always worth a try if you've never done it.
Absolutely. I'm lucky enough to live near the coast. So I used to go down to the beach, and I would, like, not every night, but many nights, most nights, like in the middle of the night at 2 or 3 in the morning, I would go down to the beach when there was nobody else there. It was dark and cool, not blazing hot at the beach, and just take off my shoes and stand right at the shoreline where the waves would wash over my feet or whatever. And I imagine that tide just taking away all of my worries or my fears or whatever was stressing me out that day, just letting it, just giving it all over to the ocean. And it feels really, really, I don't know, neat. I don't know. It just feels so neat to
It
stand
does.
right there on the shoreline. And when the waves come, as the waves are washing back out, it takes little pieces of the sand from under your feet, and you like literally feel the ground siphoning this, not
Shifting.
the ground, the sand,
Well, the sand is
siphoning.
the ground.
Yeah, but it's not what I think of as ground, but it's, the sand. And it's just, being pulled away from underneath your feet by that water, and it just feels very cleansing and very freeing.
So I lived at the beach for 14 years, and then I moved here to South Central Pennsylvania farm country 8 years ago. And we have a river nearby, but I'm not able to get to it, and you don't really go in the river here for various reasons. But yeah, I can definitely tell a difference in me over 8 years of not being by the ocean or any significant body of water. I mean, the Susquehanna River is a very spiritual river anyway. And so I do have that energy, but not being able to be next to it on a daily basis and put my hands or my feet or my body in it, I can tell that difference. And I miss that from being able to do that when I lived at the beach in North Carolina and able to get in the ocean or
Mm.
whatever. I'm actually going to visit friends next month, and we're going to the beach. And I'm going to be back where I lived for years. It's going to be a glorious week. I will be in the ocean, let me tell you. I cannot wait to walk on the sand, to feel the salt in the air, and put my body in the ocean because I miss it. And I try to get there every year, and sometimes I can spend more time than others. But when I'm not there, which is most of the time because I don't live there anymore, I notice it. And I know that a lot of the things that I struggle with now are because I'm not next to water like that. I don't have that connection that I did there, and I miss it. And I will be back one day to live. Before I die, I will live there again somewhere near the ocean or a large body of water that I can be in and around on a regular basis, because it it does something magical. You were talking about that feeling, Tegan, and it's true. It is.
Yeah.
It's true. Um, and for anybody who's not felt that, whether it's at a beach or a river or a lake, just try to get the one and see
Yeah.
how it feels,
Give
because
yourself a treat.
we can sit here and talk about it all day long until the cows come home, but if you don't have that experience, it's not the same as experiencing it just to hear us talk about it. Um, so it is spiritual for sure.
Yeah.
And we've already kind of talked about this, but rituals are simple practices to help connect with water on a daily basis. I know we talked about that some, Tegan, you and I. Bailey, do you have any rituals or practices for connecting with water?
In line with the professor Emoto, it's Emoto, right? I uh, created some images and I put my water on top of the images before I let them like charge. So they have the energies that I want to use, or um, for water, um, for cleansing, um, depending on the setup you have, either a shower or a bath after you do your normal hygienic thing. After that, either let the water run over you, or cleansing, or to um, protection. Because it holds shape, because it holds energy. You can do a lot of different things using water because of its shape shifting capacity. So those are the three main things that I use water for.
What or how does water shape our relationships with ourselves and with others?
Well, water is all about emotional depth. So it shapes our relationships by making us feel whether we want to or not. I mean, with others, it helps us empathize. It helps us feel compassion and connection. And inside ourselves, it helps us be honest about what we're really feeling. And that goes back to another one of your questions you asked before. When that water's out of balance, we might be over giving. We might get swept up in other people's tides, or we might avoid conflict just to keep the peace. But water teaches us that healthy relationships require flow, not flood.
Ooh, that's a good one.
That is good.
Thank you.
I always think it's interesting that a lot of times when we want to connect with other people, we get together for like coffee or tea or something like that, and you have to have water to make either of those. So just gathering together in basic ways like that are often centered around water in some capacity. I mean, even if you're drinking something other than coffee or tea, it has water in it at some level. I mean,
Right.
Yeah,
anything we
for
drink
sure.
has water in it. So a lot of times we gather with people and we drink something. Uh, I can't tell you the number of times it's like, do you want to grab a cup of coffee and chat this out or whatever? It's like we're doing that and we're bringing water into it, whether we think about it in that way or not. Even
Right.
for the most unspiritual people in the world, they're still interacting with the water element in that relationship. And it, to me, it's like there's always a different outcome. Well, I won't say always a different outcome because you may have came to the same outcome regardless. but I like to think that it's because of the water in that's there in that meeting or whatever. Then if you get together just to chat with nothing, or if you get together to eat something, I mean, yeah, there's water and food, and you're drinking something when you eat too, but it's just a different vibe when you get to somebody together with somebody over a cup of coffee or
Mhm.
a cup of
Or a
tea
glass of wine.
or a
Hmm.
glass of wine or whatever. But I,
Yeah.
I mean, what just popped into my mind right now was the Japanese tea ceremony. How
Mm.
that is. I mean, you're not really getting together with somebody to chat over that, but still, that image came to my mind. But
But it is something very sacred.
it
I
is.
think
Right.
water is a big part of a lot. I was going to say most, but I won't say most. I'll say a lot of our social and societal rituals. I mean, look at
Exactly.
baptism and christenings and things like that. They all involve water.
Right.
They do. Did you have anything, Bailey, that you wanted to add to that?
No, I think y'all covered everything with that one.
So that kind of takes me to another one. I have several written down, but I'm going to skip a few. I'll come back to them later. But you specifically, Tegan, mentioned things like baptism and things like that.
Mhm.
So, how is water honored or worked with in different spiritual or ancestral traditions? Since you mentioned baptism, that just is a perfect tie-in to that question. So,
Yeah, well, I mean, I think water plays because water has always been important for human survival.
right,
Right.
And I think that might be one reason that it holds such significance in a lot of different traditions and spiritual practices. Um, like in the Celtic traditions, people would leave offerings at holy wells and holy springs. They're like all over the place in Irish and Welsh lore and ancient British lore. Um, holy wells and springs and rivers. In Shinto in Japan, purification with water is a spiritual act. It's called misagi or misogi. There's washing and weeping and throwing offers into the water. The weeping woman and the washerwoman at the ford, if you guys have ever heard that. Um, it's I think Irish probably tale. And I mean, even if your religion is science, you know, life began in the water,
Right.
however many billions of years ago. And we as humans, we gestate in the water of our mother's wombs. So water's a big deal in spiritual and ancestral traditions.
Bailey, do you have any specific traditions, religious, spiritual, ancestral, that relate to water?
Um, just cleansing, like if there's issues or challenges that people may be going through, it could be because of some energies that they may have picked up or that may have been sent to them. So, like a spiritual bath, where you get herbs, depending on the situation you're working on, and um, after your hygienic cleansing, then get in the tub, and depending on what you're working on, you would either sit in the herbs or douse yourself in the tub to remove whatever may be bothersome. Or if you don't have a tub, you can use a shower or, a bucket of water, fill up several buckets and, you know, douse yourself with however many buckets are necessary for the situation at hand. That's all I have for that.
So there's a lot of different rituals in Judaism that have to do with different elements. I actually wrote a guide about that a couple years ago, but my favorite ritual in the Jewish tradition is a water ritual, obviously. I mean, why wouldn't it be for me, right? But every year on or just after Rosh Hashanah, which is the Jewish New Year, and it's usually in the fall. Well, it's always in the fall, but either that day or shortly thereafter, leading up to Yom Kippur, you do this ritual. It's called Tashlik, which means to cast. And in like the most traditional forms of Judaism, you're casting your sins into the water to wash them away, and you recite these Bible verses and pray, and you list all your sins, whatever. But for those who aren't that super traditional, whatever, you can look at it like a softer way, because I don't believe in like the concept of sin, because to me we all do wrong, but that doesn't mean something's a sin and we're going to burn in hell for it or whatever, because I don't even believe in the concept of hell, but that's neither here nor there. But I look at it more like the things that we're disappointed in with ourselves, not necessarily something that's religiously wrong or whatever, but ways that we've missed the mark with our own moral code or whatever. Like if you're struggling with something and you want to overcome it, but you've given into it, that may be something that you're disappointed with yourself with. You feel like you've missed the mark on that, but it doesn't make you a bad person. You can let that go. You can speak that over like a stick or a stone or something and cast that into the water, and let the water take it away. And it's a cleansing way to do that. But to me, that's a softer way of looking at it than something that's a harsh overtone like sin, because as somebody who came out of a very overbearing Christian background, sin is a concept that just doesn't resonate with me anymore because it's so harsh and like whatever. But to each their own. I'm not going to tell somebody else that they can't believe that, But I just look at it a little differently. But the ritual is still the same no matter what way you're approaching it. You're taking that thing that is holding you back in some way and you're letting it go. And you're giving it to the water to take it away. And I just love that. And that's my favorite thing to do every year. I love the summer. Summer is my favorite time because I can go swimming in the summer. I put my whole body in the water in the summer and it feels glorious. I mean, I can in the winter too, but it'd be really, really cold and not good. And we already talked about I don't like cold weather and I don't like to be cold. But that's one of the things I enjoy about the changing of the season as things start to cool down and whatever. I look forward to that every fall, is that ritual when it's time to do that. And I get to look back over the past year and the things that I've done that have not felt right to me. It's a time that I can just feel like, okay, now I can let these things go. I don't have to carry this weight into a new year, and I can start fresh by just letting the water take it away. So for me, that's one of the most beautiful rituals.
That is very cool.
Let's see. Where do we see water's influence in nature? in our bodies and in the seasons. I know we've touched on this, but we've not really talked about it directly. So let's do that for a few minutes.
Well, when I think
mentioned the water in the womb where we all gestate, I mean, that's within the body and it's within nature. I mean, that's both. So let's take that concept further.
Okay. Well, taking that concept further, I just tie it back to how life began in the ocean. And just as life began in the ocean, you know, all life begins in those same waters inside the womb. That's what I believe, is that it's like a recreation of that first spark of life that happened on Earth is what's happening inside your womb.
Mm-hmm.
But when I think about water in nature, I mean, of course, there's the beach and the rivers and the streams and blah, blah, blah. But what I think about first is actually the water cycle of nature.
Me too.
And,
I think
I mean,
the cycle that it goes through.
You touched on it earlier about how, you know, the water evaporates into air and accumulates into clouds and then rains back down onto the earth and then flows through the rivers back into the ocean, and it's just a cycle, a never-ending cycle. And, you know, as they say, energy can neither be created nor destroyed. That to me is one of the main illustrations of that, is that the water, I mean, it's never destroyed. It may look like it evaporated away, but it only changed form, and it will come back in a, you know, it might look, the rain might all look the same, but it's that every raindrop is different.
Just like every snowflake in the winter is different.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yes.
Unique and beautiful in its own way.
Mm-hmm. So,
But
I mean, it may
rain,
come back as a pretty spring rain, or it may come back as a ball of hail, but it'll come back and it'll be the same water, just different.
or it might come back as driving, angry rain that we've had for the past several weeks that just will not go away and will not go away. I love water, but man, I'm tired of the rain. I will tell you that. Spring and summer 2025 has been pretty darn rainy, and I'm just tired of it because I want some sunshine.
Yeah.
It hasn't down here. I mean, I know they've been experiencing the more violent side of water over in Texas. As we're recording this, they had, you know, all of those devastating floods in Texas that's killed like over 100 people or something now.
And there's been deadly floods in New Mexico as well.
Mm-hmm.
We've had flash flooding here in parts of Pennsylvania, but
wow.
not to that extent, thankfully. And my heart goes out to the people in those areas and those affected. I mean, it really does. I'm very thankful that we haven't had it to that extent here. But I mean, it's been pretty bad here too, but not like that.
Yeah, we've had a couple of storms here the past few days, but you know, I mean, yesterday it thundered pretty much all day and rained and lightning pretty much all day, but today just for a little while, and then the sun came out. But that's what it's like in Florida. Our storms don't usually last very long.
No, you get it almost every day, rain or whatever, but only for an hour here and there at the most, and then it clears up.
And then it's sunshiny and hot again.
See, that's what I like. That's what I like. Oh, I even like the humidity because I grew up in it. Oh, I'm fine if I walk outside and it feels like I'm being smothered by a wet blanket because that just feels like my growing up years.
Well, it feels like my growing up years too, and my adult years. I don't love it for sure.
I don't love it, but I mean, I don't like hate it to the extent that people here do. People here talk about it's so humid. I'm like, you don't know humidity. Go south.
Mm-hmm. I
That's humid.
understand.
Oh. So to wrap this up, herbs, crystals that resonate with water.
I would say lotus
Oh
and
yeah,
lilies and aquamarine and celestite.
Moonstones,
Yeah, moonstone.
pearls, opal
Yeah.
yeah.
are crystals that would resonate with water, as well as sodalite and blue lace agate and the willow trees are very watery.
Willow trees, weeping willows are my favorites.
Yep.
Mhm.
That's my favorite tree. Of course it
And
is.
cypress, cypress trees, and chamomile and seaweed, any type of coral that you have, or um, like anything really that came out of the ocean, even driftwood could be considered water.
Mm-hmm.
The driftwood that you find on the beach.
I love driftwood. It's so pretty.
It is. Seashells
I
are a
always
very
try
good
to
tool.
mix like ocean water and seashells and sand on my altar. When I have an active altar, I don't have one now. Haven't had one in a while, but I like to keep those kinds of things on my altar
Mm-hmm.
because I'm a water witch, so you know
Yeah.
they work for me. Blues, greens, that kind of thing, color wise.
Yeah.
Yeah,
As long as we're on water, I think we should mention that mirrors are also representative of water,
definitely. They are.
and like
And
mirror
streams.
scrying and water scrying.
Anybody have anything else
No, I
before I
think we
go
about
into a
covered it.
more of an ode to water and start having my love affair with water become public?
No, I think I mean, covered everything that I can think
Yes,
of.
Yeah, I think
me
so.
too. So I think that will definitely wrap us up for episode 15. Um, so yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this. Definitely send us a message, comment, whatever. Send us your thoughts on water, rituals you have for water, especially if they're different than the ones we mentioned, because we always like to learn new things. And
Hmm
I'm definitely interested in hearing more water rituals if you have different ones, because I like to do new things. So definitely send us some messages or comment, whatever you want to do like that. All right, then. We will see you in a couple weeks to talk about air.
Okay, bye,
Alrighty.
y'all.
Bye.
Bye.